Don't rush to judge. As soon as he received the phone call, the male doctor rushed to the hospital. He quickly put on surgical clothes and immediately went to the operating room. At that time, the father of the boy who was about to have surgery was waiting at the door of the room. As soon as he saw the doctor's silhouette, the father immediately said, "Why did you just come now? Don't you know my son is in critical condition? Do you honestly have any professional responsibilities?" The doctor calmly replied, "I'm sorry, it's not my shift at this time, so I'm not at the hospital. But as soon as I received the call, I came right here. And now I want to calm down a bit to prepare for surgery." The father was angry, pure mind. If your child was in the emergency room, would you be able to calm your mind? If your son was about to die, what would you do? The doctor smiled again and replied, "I will say what Job said in the Bible, 'Naked was born from the dust, and naked will I return to the dust.' God gave birth, God took away, praise God. Doctors are unable to save lives. Go and pray for your son. We will try our best and rely on God's grace." Advising others when you yourself have nothing to do with it seems too easy. The father complained. The operating room door closed. The doctor worked hard for several hours in the operating room. And he left the operating room in happiness, thank God. Your son was saved. If you want more details, ask the nurse who just helped me. Without waiting for the father's answer, the doctor went straight and left the hospital. As soon as he saw the nurse appear, the father immediately said, "What kind of person is so arrogant like that? He didn't even bother to take a few seconds to answer and let me know my son's condition." The nurse bent down, tears streaming down her face, and with emotion, she slowly answered, "His only son passed away yesterday due to an accident. Today he is taking care of the funeral. But as soon as he received the call, he immediately came to save your son. Now he has returned to continue taking care of his beloved child's funeral. Don't condemn anyone. Because you don't know what their lives are like and what's going on in their souls and what they're trying to overcome. When in doubt, leave room for trust. And vice versa. Learning to trust is good. But in some cases, trusting your hunch too much will put you at a disadvantage. Someone once said, if you believe, your chance of achieving it is 50%. But if you don't believe it, the chance is 0%. I have embraced that concept and learned to trust it in many cases. And for the most part, everything is smooth sailing. For example, I don't trust a person I met online. Listening to the way he talked, I felt like he was not dignified. But then I still decided to meet. We met up in a small corner of the park and talked all day about all issues in life. Then I realized, it turns out this person isn't as bad as I thought. Why do I think so negatively? I was invited to attend a specialized seminar on digital marketing. The organizer did not specify the name, only the address. I was a bit skeptical and kept thinking, maybe this is a disguised seminar, actually multi-level. Despite my curiosity and fear, I still decided to participate. At first, the MC invited everyone to say hello, shake hands, and introduce each other. I didn't want to do it and thought to myself, why is it so multi-level? And then, the sharing session became more and more exciting and bustling because all issues related to the digital marketing major were thoroughly exploited. Turns out, I was too skeptical. Because of being subjective about the situations I went through, I got hurt quite a bit online. The story is that I intended to sell virtual gaming accounts online. In the world of online games, it is normal for virtual items to cost several $100,000, sometimes several million. I believe that, when doing transactions online like that, I must know how to trust, the same way I trust in real life. But perhaps the trust was given wrongly. The transaction was made, the gaming account was lost, but the money was not transferred back. I started to doubt this world again. Why is it that when I have doubts, there is actually nothing, but when I trust my own hunch, I am wrong? Then I suddenly realized that being skeptical is the right thing to do in all cases, even if you have complete faith in it. Because even when you trust the most, you still have to be prepared for the most unexpected situations. I was not mentally prepared when unexpected things happened, so I was easily disappointed. Trust and doubt should be in balance. When you doubt, leave room for trust and vice versa. Life is full of unpredictable things that can make you hard to believe, make you disappointed, and even surprise you to the point that you don't think it's real. But most of all, always believe in yourself more. As for trust in someone else, something else, it's best to still need a bit of wisdom and doubt. Stories teach you how to face gossip. Rules of garbage trucks. One day I jumped into a taxi to go to the airport. While driving in the right lane, a black car suddenly drove out from the parking lot in front. The taxi driver screeched his brakes and avoided colliding with the other car by a hair's breadth. The other driver turned his head and scolded us. The taxi driver just smiled, waved back. I see he is so kind. So I asked, why are you so gentle? That guy almost crashed your car and we probably would have had to go to hospital. At that time, the taxi driver taught me this lesson. I called it, the law of the garbage truck. He explained that many people are like garbage trucks. They run around full of trash, full of frustration, full of anger and frustration. Because their trash is full, they need a place to dump it, and sometimes they dump it on you. Do not bring it on yourself. Just smile, wave, wish well, and then move on. Don't bother taking that trash and spreading it to others at work, along the road, or bringing it home. Successful people refuse to let garbage trucks ruin their day. Life is too short to live in regret, so, love those who treat you well and pray for those who treat you badly. This life we create is only 10%, and 90% depends on how we receive it. Opposite of love. A professor was lecturing about novels in a class of young writers. The professor suddenly stopped and asked the students, "What is the opposite of love?" "Hate." The professor walked back and forth, pensive. He put the textbook on the table and said, "Here it is. For example, you're in love, then you break up. 50 years later, when you are 70 years old, you happen to meet your ex-lover on a walk one afternoon. At that time, the woman stares at you and says, 'Mr. A, I hate you.' If the situation happens like that, you have to be happy for yourself. Why? Because you are a lucky person to have someone hate you for half a century. What luck, absurd. Calm down, think carefully. Hate also attracts feelings like love, that is, someone's feelings still think about you. Someone hates you for 50 years, that means they still think about you for 50 years, that's really rare. Are you lucky? The scary thing is that when you meet his ex again, you ask, Mrs. B, do you remember me? That person stands there, looks at you and says, Sir, I think you look a bit familiar, who are you? The whole class burst out laughing. This imaginary story was really interesting and a little embarrassing. The professor affirmed, the opposite of love is not hate. The whole class agreed with the professor, the opposite of love is forgetting. The best revenge is to forget and move on. Sword of King Dionysius. In ancient times, Dionysius ruled over Syracuse, the richest country in the kingdom of Sicily. Dionysius lived in a magnificent palace with countless expensive objects and a large entourage. Dionysius' power and wealth made many people in Syracuse jealous. And Damocles, a trusted courtier of Dionysius, was one of them. He always complained to the king. You are so lucky. He has everything that others desire. You are the happiest person in the world. Dionysius was tired of hearing Damocles' words all day. One day, the king told his courtier, Why do you always think I'm happier than everyone else? But it is true, my king. Damocles replied, Look at the power and property that you hold. You never have to be preoccupied or worried about anything. Can life get any better than that? Then I allow you to replace me for one day. Oh! I never dared to dream of this. Damocles was happy. Just being in your position for one day is the happiest thing for me. Okay. Then come here tomorrow, then you will have that happiness. So the next day, Damocles was led to the palace. By order of Dionysius, the palace servants served Damocles as devotedly as they served their master. They dressed Damocles in royal robes and placed on his head the king's crown. Damocles sat down at the large table in the dining hall and immediately delicacies were served. There was nothing more joyful than that for Damocles. Rare wines, fragrant flowers and sweet fruits, premium aromatic oils and bustling dance music are continuously offered. Damocles sat relaxing on the soft mattress, enjoying boundless happiness. Oh! This is what living is like, he sighed and said to Dionysius sitting at the opposite corner of the table. I have never enjoyed such a wonderful life like this before. Saying so, he raised the glass of wine to his mouth and turned his face up to the ceiling. But what is that thing swinging high above and pointing straight at his head like that? Damocles was speechless, the smile disappeared from my lips. His face was pale and his hands were shaking. Now, he no longer cares about delicious food or dance music. The only thing he thought about was to get out of this seat as quickly as possible. Right above Damocles' head, a sword hung from a thin string. Its sharp blade aimed straight at the center of his head. At first, Damocles wanted to jump out of the chair and run away, but he immediately gave up the idea because he was afraid that even a small movement would break the rope and cause the sword to fall straight down. Damocles sat still like a stone statue. What is going on? Dionysius asked. Why do I see you looking so stressed? Sword. That sword up there. Damocles whispered. Did you see it? Of course I did, Dionysius replied. I see it every day. It is always hovering above my head and can fall at any time. But that is just a tip that I deliberately set out to remind myself of other potential disasters, such as the betrayal of courtiers, the turning away of the people, the invasion of enemies, or my own wrong decisions. To have power, you must first learn to accept all dangers and risks. Do you understand? Yes, my king, I have understood that. Damocles replied. I don't think you have to worry about so many things like this. Please return to your position, and I will return to my home immediately. From then on, Damocles never wanted to compete with the king for another moment. Try putting yourself in other people's shoes and see if there is any underlying reason why they do what they do, before getting upset with them. Valuable lesson. Once upon a time, there was an outstanding painter named Ranga. During his artistic career, he allowed people to admire many amazing masterpieces that made everyone admire and praise him. Over time, Ranga's youth gradually passed, making him worried. Then he decided to open an art class to teach people the craft and also to find disciples to succeed him. He often told his students, "You can only succeed and you make me satisfied with your skills and understanding." That's why rarely seeing him praising anyone and also not mentioning the end of the course. He devotedly imparted to his students lessons on extremely unique methods of evaluation and assessment. Ranga never exaggerated the importance of paintings or fame, but he always emphasized the behavior and attitude towards life of his students. Among a large number of students, Rajiv was the most talented, hardworking and creative person, so he learned much faster than his peers. Ranga was very pleased with this student. One day, he called Rajiv and said, "I am very proud of the progress you have made, but before I recognize you as truly a talented artist, I want you to paint a picture that everyone will find beautiful and praise." Rajiv obeyed. He worked hard day and night and brought to Master Ranga a wonderful painting. Ranga looked at it and said, "Please bring this painting and place it in the main square, so everyone can admire it. Write below the picture that the author would be very grateful if anyone could point out any mistake in the picture and put an X mark on the error." Rajiv did as his master said and placed the painting in the large square with a message asking everyone to point out negligence. 2 days later, Ranga asked Rajiv to take the painting back. Rajiv was very disappointed when his picture was full of X marks. Teacher Ranga smiled comfortingly and advised Rajiv not to be disappointed and try again. Rajiv painted another masterpiece and brought it to his teacher. Ranga looked at it and said, "Rajiv, please change the message under the picture. Leave paints and pens right next to the painting in the square and ask everyone to find the mistakes in the painting and correct them with those drawing tools." After 2 days, when he got the painting back, Rajiv was very happy. When he saw that the picture had not been altered at all and confidently brought it to his teacher, Ranga said, "You are successful today. Because it's not enough to just be proficient in art, you also have to know that people always judge indiscriminately at the first opportunity, even if they know nothing about it. If you always let the world judge you, you will always fail. People like to evaluate others without thinking about responsibility or seriousness at all. People put X marks on your first drawing because they have no responsibility but think it's a brainless task and they enjoy it. But when you ask them to correct your mistakes, no one did it anymore, because they were afraid of revealing knowledge, things they may not have. So they decided to avoid going over. Therefore, Don't be easily influenced by other people's judgments about the things that you have worked hard to create. Make your self-assessment. And of course, never judge other people too easily. Practice a different lifestyle, live for yourself, and pay attention to the things you really want in life. Refer to good opinions and don't care about other things.